Hi, Coach Dawn here. This workshop, I wanted to focus on sleep optimization. So I just want to give you guys a holistic approach of how diet, stress, and lifestyle can affect your rest. So overview, we're going to talk about the stages of sleep, the impact of nutrition, the impact of stress, and give you some better sleep tips. Why is sleep important? Emotional and mental processing, immune function. It has to do with affecting your metabolism. It's part of the repair processes for our body, and then encouraging resilience. The first thing that's pretty important is just understanding our sleep cycles. Our sleep occurs in cycles of 90 minutes. So there are 4 stages. There's the REM1, which is your light sleep, REM2, which is your deeper relaxation, REM3, which is your deep sleep, that's the restorative sleep, and then the REM where there's dreaming and memory consolidation. So cycling through all of these is crucial for good quality sleep. And this just gives you an idea. So we're looking at, how many minutes, what you're kind of shooting for. So usually the stage 1 is a few minutes. When you get into stage 2, the light sleep, that's about 25 minutes. When you get into the deep sleep, which is the critical, which is, really good for the brain, that's shooting for 2 hours. And then your REM, which is primarily your dreaming stage, your eye movements become really fast, brain activity increases. You want to shoot for 2 hours on that. Deep sleep is also the time of night when the brain will clean out metabolic waste that, if it's not cleared out, may accumulate and increase the long-term risk of dementia and or Alzheimer's disease. So this is one of the most important stages. It actually will decrease in old age, so we have to be more intentional about that. This is when growth hormones released, and deep sleep is when it's helping to boost your immune system. A quarter of our sleep equates to deep sleep. So the role of diet and sleep. Some of the foods that promote sleep are complex carbs like oats and quinoa, protein-rich foods with tryptophan like turkey, eggs, and dairy, magnesium-rich foods like almonds, spinach, bananas. Milk is also rich in tryptophan. Foods you want to avoid before bed are spicy or heavy meals, processed sugars, and refined carbs. Understanding tryptophan and melatonin. So tryptophan is an amino acid that helps produce serotonin. Serotonin converts into melatonin, which is the sleep hormone. And again, sources of tryptophan are things like turkey, chicken, nuts, seeds, cherries. And then melatonin is naturally released in response to darkness. So that's when our body's, signaling for us to get sleepy. Nutrition. So it's best to eat at the same time every day. You want to stick to consistent portion sizes to support your circadian rhythm. And the following nutrients that are listed here play a role in melatonin synthesis: tryptophan, B vitamins, and vitamin D. So tryptophan is that amino acid that's the raw material for serotonin synthesis and melatonin conversion. B vitamins like your folic acid, vitamin B9, B6, 12, they play a role in the synthesis of both serotonin and melatonin. You can also get it from things like dark green vegetables, liver, seaweed, shiitake mushrooms. And then vitamin D helps with the synthesis of melatonin and is regulated related to mood regulation. Another thing is important is managing stress for better sleep. We find that chronic stress disrupts sleep cycles. So here are some tips to reduce stress before bed. You could look at things like meditation and deep breathing. You can do journaling to clear your mind. You want to avoid drinks close to bedtime. Things that can disrupt your sleep are caffeine. You want to avoid that 6 hours before bed. Alcohol, that disrupts your REM sleep, and excess water can lead to getting up to go to the bathroom. Sleep-friendly drinks, if you do this, a couple hours before you go to bed, are things like herbal teas, warm milk with honey, tart cherry juice with spritzer water and magnesium. Cherry does have a tryptophan, which is helpful, and here's a little recipe for a sleepy spritzer if you want to try that. You could use some kind of a magnesium, a little bit of cherry juice, juice of a lime, and then with a splash of sparkling water, and that would be a little sleepy spritzer you can try. Possible supplements for sleep include melatonin, magnesium, L-theanine and valerian root, and GABA. All these can help support sleep in the sleep cycle. Maybe some helpful devices and tools that people might find helpful are like things like a white noise machine for consistent sound, weighted blankets for anxiety, blue light blocking glasses for evening use. That's really important. We are exposed to LED and blue light way too much, and we want to get more of that warm light in our eyes in the evening. Smart sleep trackers can help you monitor your sleep quality, and essential oil diffusers with lavender. Blue light blocking glasses. Wearing this can help reduce glare and light sensitivity, so that can relax the strain on the eye and sometimes improve your blinking rate. Earplugs, majority of repair and restoration happens during the later stages of sleep, so not being woken up is important. We want ideally not to be exposed to anything that can jolt you out of that stage, like street traffic or loud air conditioning. And you can find some on Amazon for like $14.99. These are a brand, Max Ultra Soft earplugs. Essential oils. So today's research suggests that breathing in lavender could improve sleep quality. There are other studies that have found additional benefits of lavender for sleep issues. So these are a couple resources you guys can click on. I will include the PDF of this presentation so you can do that. Mouth taping is another thing to try, so anyone can reap the benefits of this. If you're dealing with any of the following conditions like sleep apnea, dry mouth, snoring, fatigue, bad breath, gum disease, teeth grinding, high blood pressure, anxiety, and depression, mouth taping can really start to help with some of that. This is a great book by James Nestor called Breath. He talks a lot about what's bad about mouth breathing. I've included a YouTube video that he includes on there, but he states that our nose was primarily designed for breathing and smelling, and our mouth was designed for eating, tasting, and talking. So when we use these body parts out of their intended use, that's where problems can start to emerge. So an estimated 25% of our body's nitric oxide is produced from breathing through our noses. So when we get more oxygen, that gives us more nitric oxide, and that's why we want to, encourage the use of our nose more. This can help with things like better sleep quality, regulated blood pressure, less inflammation, a balanced immune response, lower risk for heart disease, a better memory, fewer symptoms of anxiety. So another important thing is to look at getting sunlight first thing in the morning. For about 10 minutes, that helps to set your circadian rhythm and tells your body to take melatonin 14 to 16 hours later. And looking at light, we want to focus on getting 15 to 30 minutes of sunlight exposure early in the day to improve general health, as it helps set circadian rhythms. If you're getting enough sunlight exposure is not possible, you can do a daytime 10-minute session of red light therapy, which is exposure to red or near infrared light. And it's best to do early in the day because the sun is naturally richer in these wavelengths during this time. You can also look at getting a computer screen app like something called Flux. This will help change the light on your computer at a certain time of day, so it's good to do, in the evening if you're still working on the computer to get more of that softer light. And that has a lot to do with how the bearing on the brain and the body's ability to create melatonin. We actually need some of that softer light for our body to start automatically creating that melatonin. Light exposure tips. So later in the evening after dark, limit sources of artificial light. You want to limit especially 2 hours before bedtime, because blue light, such as screens from TVs, computers, and cell phones, those can stimulate the eyes and the brain and prevent that melatonin from producing. You want to avoid exposure to overhead LED lights in the evening. These kind of wavelengths are distorted and unnatural. And then to ease into bedtime mode, you want to dim direct light sources in your eyes, such as screens and lamps. You want to avoid ceiling floodlights and choose warm tone lighting. You could look at things like blackout curtains. Just like sound can jolt you awake, light can also disrupt your slumber. Sleeping in a dark bedroom is important for regulating the circadian rhythm, the internal clock that dictates our sleep-wake cycle, and it works best when exposed to bright light during the day. These are some that you can get online. West Elm blackout curtain. They're like $78 for a set of 2. Some sleeping drugs have anticholinergic effects, including things like Benadryl and Ambien. Those particular drugs can block acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter in the nervous system. They are commonly used to treat sleep issues and bladder leakage in older adults. Things like Benadryl, Unizom, Ambien, those are known to increase the risk of dementia, especially if taken for more than 3 years. So you really want to limit the use of those. Apps and meditation are other tools to help you fall asleep and calm your mind. Things like Yoga Nidra, that's a mind-body scan to help you sleep. Sleep music, which is peaceful, sleepy music. Sleep stories, to read to you in a calm voice. And then there's some calm guided meditations you can look into. Here's a book by Matthew Walker called Why We Sleep. He's got a great podcast as well, or he's been on a number of podcasts, but it's a great book to read. You want to think about sleeping like your ancestors. So consistent quality sleep is one of the best things you can do for your health. Things like don't eat late, turn off devices, turn off all lights, create a cold room, wear blue light blockers, and drink bone broth. Those are things that can help us sleep. So just to summarize, just talking about your personalized sleep plan, we want you to look at optimizing diet for sleep-friendly nutrients, reduce stress through mindfulness and relaxation. We want to limit caffeine, alcohol, and late-night fluids. You can consider supplements for additional support, and you can use some helpful sleep devices to create a restful environment. So just want to encourage you to think about this and think about what changes you will make to improve your sleep. Thank you.